When you think about Japanese motorcycles from the late 1960s, you probably imagine nimble two-strokes zipping around city streets. What you don't expect is a machine that would outrun British legends and still be tearing up roads 50 years later. The Yamaha XS650 engine changed everything. Here's what nobody tells you about this 654 cubic centimeter parallel twin. Back in 1969, Yamaha took a massive gamble. They were known for two-stroke engines, the kind that smoked and screamed and needed constant attention. Then they dropped a four-stroke twin that looked suspiciously like a British bike. Critics laughed, riders raised their eyebrows, but Yamaha knew something everyone else didn't, and that knowledge came from halfway around the world. The XS650 engine actually started its life in Germany during the early 1950s. A company called Horex built a 500 cubic centimeter overhead cam parallel twin for their Imperator model. By 1955, this design traveled to Japan through a company named Hosk, who bumped it up to 650 cubic centimeters. When Showa absorbed Hosk in 1957, they held on to this engine design. Then in 1960, Yamaha bought Showa and got their hands on something special. But here's where it gets interesting. Yamaha didn't just copy and paste. They spent 9 years studying, modifying, and perfecting this engine. They even borrowed ideas from their work with Toyota on the 2000 GT sports car engine, sharing bore dimensions and valve train concepts. The result was an engine that combined European engineering roots with Japanese manufacturing precision. Number 5 on our countdown of shocking truths. This engine was more advanced than the British bikes it resembled. Everyone assumed Yamaha just knocked off the Triumph Bonneville. Wrong. The XS650 featured a single overhead cam setup, while most British twins still used pushrods. That means better valve control, higher revving potential, and more power from the same displacement. The engine used unit construction, meaning the motor and transmission shared the same case. British bikes typically bolted these together separately, creating more potential leak points and maintenance headaches. Yamaha split the crankcase horizontally instead of vertically. Sounds boring until you realize vertical splits. Common on British bikes, leaked oil like a politician leaks promises. The horizontal split kept things tight. Then there's the bearing setup. Roller bearings throughout the crankshaft, needle bearings on the connecting rods. These choices meant the engine could run for 100,000 miles without major work. Some owners reported 120,000 miles on original internals, with nothing more than regular oil changes and valve adjustments. Let's talk about what makes this engine tick. The displacement measures exactly 654 cubic centimeters, achieved through a 75mm bore and 74mm stroke. That's nearly square, meaning the bore and stroke are almost equal. This balance gives you good low-end torque without sacrificing top-end power. The compression ratio started at 8.4:1, though Yamaha tweaked this over the years to meet emission standards. Power output landed between 50 and 53 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. Torque peaked at 39.8 pound-feet at 6,000 RPM. Not earth-shattering numbers, but the delivery was smooth and predictable. The engine breathed through twin 38mm Mikuni constant velocity carburetors on early models, dropping to 34mm units after 1979. Ignition started with points and condensers, but switched to electronic systems in 1980. The transmission offered 5 forward gears with a wet multi-plate clutch. Top speed hit around 105 to 110 miles per hour, and fuel efficiency averaged 48 to 51 miles per gallon. For a 650 cubic centimeter twin in the 1970s, that was impressive. Number 4 on our countdown. The 360-degree crankshaft was both brilliant and brutal. Yamaha chose to fire both pistons every 360 degrees of rotation. This created an even firing interval that mimicked a single-cylinder engine. The upside was strong power pulses and excellent low-end grunt. The downside was vibration, and lots of it. Both pistons moved up and down together, creating primary vibration that shook the entire bike. At idle, the bike would literally vibrate backward on its center stand. Mirrors turned into funhouse reflections above certain speeds. Bolts loosened themselves if you didn't use thread locker. Riders either loved the visceral feeling or hated it with a passion. Yamaha tried to manage this with rubber engine mounts and handlebar dampers starting in 1974. They even lightened the pistons and connecting rods by 20% in later models to reduce reciprocating mass. But the vibration remained a signature characteristic. Some riders called it character. Others called it a deal breaker. A 1980 survey found that 41% of owners rated vibration as the worst feature of the bike. Yet many of these same people kept riding their XS650s for decades. The crankshaft itself deserves attention. It's a one-piece design, press-fit together and supported by 3 roller bearings plus 1 ball bearing. The camshaft gets driven by a single row chain with a spring-loaded tensioner to keep things tight. Pistons are aluminum with a slight dome to create valve pockets. 3 rings per piston handle sealing duties, 2 for compression and 1 for oil control. The lubrication system uses a trochoidal pump to pressurize oil to critical areas like main bearings and rocker arms. Less critical parts get splash lubrication, simple, effective, nearly bulletproof. The wet sump design meant oil lived in the bottom of the engine, not in a separate tank. This kept everything compact and reduced potential leak points. Number 3 on our countdown, the racing success nobody saw coming. Kenny Roberts, who would go on to become a motorcycle racing legend, won the 1974 AMA Grand National Championship on a Yamaha XS650. A street bike engine designed for commuters and weekend riders dominated American flat track racing. Roberts beat Purpose built Harley-Davidson XR750 race bikes on dirt ovals across the country. How did this happen? The XS650's lightweight flywheel allowed quick throttle response and rapid acceleration out of corners. The engine's compact size helped centralize mass for better handling. Tuners could easily modify the engine for more power, boring it out to 700 cubic centimeters or beyond. The SOHC valve train responded well to camshaft changes and higher compression pistons. Yamaha's reliability meant Roberts could focus on racing instead of wrenching. This wasn't a fluke either. The XS650 continued to win flat-track races throughout the 1970s, proving that Japanese engineering had caught up to and surpassed American racing iron. Harley executives weren't amused. Their riders suddenly had real competition from an unexpected source. The model evolution over 16 years shows how Yamaha responded to rider feedback and changing regulations. The original 1970 XS1 came with kickstart only and drum brakes front and rear. Available in green and white, it made 53 horsepower and weighed 460 pounds wet. The 1971 XS1B brought minor refinements but kept the kickstart tradition alive. Then 1972's XS2 added electric start and a front disc brake, making life easier for riders who didn't want to kickstart a 650 cubic centimeter twin. A compression release lever helped with kickstarting too. The 1973 TX650 saw EPA mandated changes to valve timing that slightly reduced performance in the name of emissions compliance. By 1974, the TX650A model removed the compression release because Yamaha beefed up the starter motor. This year also brought enhanced vibration damping through improved engine mounts. Frame problems plagued early models. At speeds above 80 miles per hour, the bike would develop a nasty speed wobble that scared riders half to death. The frame flexed too much, allowing the front end to oscillate. Yamaha hired Percy Tate, a Triumph racing expert, to fix the problem. His solution appeared in the 1975 XS650B model with additional frame bracing that stiffened everything up. The wobble disappeared, and riders could finally use the bike's top speed without fear. The 1976 XS650C added twin front disc brakes for better stopping power and increased fork diameter to 35 millimeters for improved handling. But Yamaha backtracked in 1977 with the XSD model, returning to a single front disc while redesigning the forks completely. Number 2 on our countdown, the 1978 split that created 2 different bikes. Yamaha introduced the XS650 Special alongside the standard model. The Special featured cruiser styling with pullback handlebars, a teardrop fuel tank, stepped seat, and more chrome. This model targeted the growing American cruiser market where riders wanted Harley-Davidson looks without Harley-Davidson maintenance. The standard model kept its upright riding position and classic British twin aesthetics. Standard production ended in 1979 with the XSF model, but specials continued until 1985. The 1980 XSSG Special got electronic ignition standard, smaller 34mm carburetors for better emissions, and mirror black paint that looked stunning. Later models through 1985 saw minor updates like seat reshaping and different graphics, but the core engine remained largely unchanged. Total production reached approximately 500,000 units over those 16 years, a testament to the design's appeal. Common issues do exist, and knowing them helps you avoid problems. Alternator brushes wear out between 5,000 and 17,000 miles. When they fail, the bike stops charging the battery and you're stranded. Smart owners replace brushes every 5,000 miles as preventive maintenance and carry spares in their toolkit. Carburetor diaphragms stiffen with age, causing rough idle and poor throttle response. Rebuilding or replacing carburetors fixes this, but it requires some mechanical skill. Swing arm bushings wear over time, creating play in the rear suspension that affects handling. Modern replacement bushings use better materials and last longer. Steering head bearings also need periodic inspection and replacement. Oil leaks can develop at gaskets, though they're far less common than on British bikes. Using quality gasket sealant during assembly prevents most leaks. Starters fail on electric start models, but the kickstart backup means you're never completely stuck. Gear shifting problems like difficulty finding neutral or clutch drag usually stem from worn clutch components or improper cable adjustment. Fuel tanks rust internally if the bike sits unused for long periods, requiring tank lining or replacement. The vibration issue extends beyond just annoyance. It can crack brackets, loosen exhaust pipes, and cause fasteners to back out. Using thread locker on critical bolts helps. Synchronizing the carburetors reduces some vibration by ensuring both cylinders fire evenly. Some riders swap to electronic ignition systems for more precise timing. Others install aftermarket engine mounts with better damping. Despite these issues, 59% of owners in that 1980 survey reported no major problems. Breakdown rates hit 16%, mostly from alternator brush failures that could have been prevented. The engine itself rarely failed. Internal components just kept running. Number 1 on our countdown. The custom motorcycle scene adopted the XS650 like no other Japanese bike. Walk into any custom shop and you'll see XS650s transformed into bobbers, choppers, cafe racers, and street trackers. Why this bike? The engine's simple design makes modifications straightforward. The air-cooled layout means no radiator to work around. The parallel twin configuration fits into almost any frame. Parts availability remains strong thanks to dedicated suppliers and large owner communities. Companies like TC Bros built entire product lines around the XS650 platform. You can buy hardtail frames that replace the rear suspension for a rigid, old-school look. Extended swing arms stretch the bike for chopper aesthetics. Jockey shifters and foot clutches add vintage appeal. Aftermarket exhausts change the sound from refined twin to aggressive bark. Electronic ignitions replace points for reliability. Mikuni carburetors offer better tuning options than the stock units. Suspension upgrades like progressive shocks or fork swaps improve handling dramatically. Custom builders bore engines to 700 cubic centimeters, 750 cubic centimeters, or even larger for more power. High compression pistons and aggressive camshafts wake up the motor. Big bore kits are available from multiple suppliers. Some builders swap to different transmission ratios for better acceleration or highway cruising. The oil system can be modified for external oil coolers in hot climates. Paint and bodywork transform the bike's appearance completely. Custom seats, tanks, and fenders create unique looks. LED lighting modernizes the electrical system. The possibilities are nearly endless, limited only by budget and imagination. This customization potential keeps XS650 values stable. Today, good condition examples sell for around $3,700, making them accessible to younger riders who want an analog motorcycle experience without breaking the bank. Maintenance proves surprisingly simple for a 50-year-old design. The survey showed 62% of owners found it very easy to maintain. 80% performed most work themselves. Parts availability rated at 93%, though waiting times averaged 29 days for rare components. Oil changes require nothing more than basic tools. Valve adjustments need feeler gauges and some patience but aren't difficult. Carburetor synchronization requires a vacuum gauge setup. Chain adjustment takes minutes. Spark plug changes are straightforward. The simple design means fewer things can go wrong. No complex electronics to diagnose. No fuel injection to tune. No catalytic converters to replace. Just a basic 4-stroke twin that responds well to regular care. Service manuals are available online, and YouTube videos walk through every procedure imaginable. Owner forums provide instant help for any problem. The demographics of XS650 ownership tell an interesting story. 2/3 of owners fell into the boomer generation originally, people who remembered when these bikes were new, but younger generations discovered the XS650 as affordable entry points into classic motorcycles. The bike offers vintage character without vintage problems. Parts don't require international searches. Mechanics who work on them exist in every city. Insurance costs less than modern bikes. Registration fees stay low. Fuel economy beats most current motorcycles. The XS650 makes sense for riders who want simplicity and soul instead of electronic nannies and plastic bodywork. Let's talk about touring capability. The XS650 wasn't designed as a touring bike, but owners made it work. 41% added luggage racks for carrying gear. 35% installed fairings for wind protection. The comfortable seating position and smooth power delivery made long distances manageable. Fuel range averaged around 150 miles between fill-ups. Highway cruising at 70 miles per hour felt relaxed, though vibration could cause fatigue on really long days. Some riders installed larger tanks for extended range. Others added saddlebags or tank bags for storage. The bike handled two-up riding reasonably well, though performance dropped with a passenger aboard. For weekend trips and short tours, the XS650 worked fine. Cross-country journeys required more commitment, but plenty of riders did them. Comparing the XS650 to its contemporaries reveals why it succeeded. The Triumph Bonneville offered similar performance, but required more maintenance and leaked oil constantly. The BSA twins were beautiful but fragile. The Norton Commando handled better but cost more and had its own reliability issues. Honda's CB750 offered more cylinders and complexity, but lacked the XS650's torque and character. Kawasaki's W Series bikes were solid but less popular. The XS650 hit a sweet spot of reliability, performance, and price that resonated with riders. It offered British twin character without British twin headaches. That combination proved irresistible. The legacy extends beyond just the bikes still running. The XS650 proved Japanese manufacturers could build large displacement 4-stroke engines that worked. It paved the way for bigger, more powerful machines from Yamaha and their competitors. The design influenced later parallel twins from various manufacturers. The custom scene it spawned created businesses and careers. Magazines devoted entire articles to XS650 builds. Internet forums connected thousands of owners globally. Parts suppliers thrived on aftermarket demand. The XS650 became more than a motorcycle. It became a culture. Technical innovation in the XS650 often goes unnoticed. The horizontally split cases were unusual for the time. The unit construction design simplified manufacturing. The roller-bearing crankshaft support reduced friction. The SOHC valve train allowed higher revs than pushrod designs. The gear-driven balance shaft. Wait, actually the XS650 didn't have a balance shaft. That vibration we talked about earlier came from the lack of one, but the engine's overall design package worked together harmoniously. Each component complemented the others. Nothing felt like an afterthought. Engineers sweated the details, and it showed in long-term durability. The sound of an XS650 is distinctive. At idle, it produces a lumpy, uneven beat that sounds almost like a single cylinder. Crack the throttle, and it smooths into a purposeful growl. Wind it out, and it howls, especially with aftermarket exhausts. The intake roar from those big Mikuni carbs adds to the symphony. It's not refined like a modern inline 4. It's raw and mechanical and utterly engaging. You feel connected to the combustion process in a way that modern bikes don't deliver. Every twist of the throttle produces immediate, tangible response. The exhaust note changes pitch and intensity with engine load. It's an analog experience in a digital world. After 5 decades, the Yamaha XS650 engine remains relevant. New riders discover it constantly. Custom builders keep finding fresh ways to interpret the platform. Parts suppliers continue supporting the community. Values stay stable or even increase for nice examples. The fundamental design hasn't aged because it was right from the start. Yamaha nailed the basics: adequate power, bulletproof reliability, simple maintenance, and enough character to stay interesting. Modern bikes offer more performance, better handling, and advanced technology. But they don't offer the XS650's blend of vintage soul and dependable operation. That combination keeps riders coming back. So there you have it, the shocking truth behind the Yamaha XS650 engine. It's not just a Japanese copy of a British bike. It's a German design refined in Japan that beat British bikes at their own game and created a legacy that outlasted them all. Pretty shocking indeed.